Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This time something a little bit different. I haven't released a commentary in a few days. I have been feeling a bit under the weather, so it's not real great for talking a lot. A bit of a sore throat, but I have been playing quite a bit and been trying to learn the Zerg race a little bit more. I started out as a Protoss player, sort of mid-diamond Protoss, and really started feeling comfortable to the point where I wanted to experiment a little more with the other races, and I decided to start with Zerg. But I'm having a lot of trouble with Zerg, so I wanted to look at a pro replay here. So we have IdrA spawning as the red Zerg, and ThisIsJimmy spawning as the blue Terran, and specifically I'm having trouble in the ZVT matchup. So I wanted to take a look at a high-level replay from one of the more mechanically sound, and I would call it more standard Zerg players in IdrA. Could look at maybe a Cats replay, or maybe TLO, somebody who rolls a little bit differently and plays some non-standard Zerg play. But at this point in wanting to learn Zerg, I just want to kind of check out one of the masters of the race, somebody who's going to make all the right decisions, and really just kind of pay close attention to what he's looking at. Zerg is a lot different than the other races in the fact that you really need to read and react more so. As we see IdrA sending over these overlords, it looks like both of them being sent over in the scrap station map. And it looks like he is going to try to get an eye on what his opponent's going to be going for in the early going here. And he wants to try to get a sense of the timing of the refinery and of the first barracks and whether a second barracks is going down. So it looks like he's going to be opting for, looks like a 14 pool there, as he has another, maybe a 15 hatch, and it seems pretty safe on scrap station. I have been trying to start with pool first. It feels a little bit safer to me. I'm able to get out the queen and able to get out a few zerglings, try to deny any sort of scouting that my opponent wants to do, and also really try to control those Xel'Naga towers. That's something that I am doing a nice job at. Playing Zerg is getting my creep spread, getting those Xel'Naga towers, but one of the main things which I'm having trouble with is just the relative strength of Zerg units compared to Terran and Protoss especially. Protoss units are a lot stronger, and Zerg units, if you have them out of position or you engage in an encounter where you just don't have the advantage, you can lose a ton of your Zerg units, whereas Protoss you can sort of pull back and you don't lose too much of your army. So I really want to pay attention to how IdrA controls his units here, as we see Jimmy setting up a bunker. He's got a, looks like 2 Reapers on the way. They're going to be able to make their way over here. I don't believe they can jump these rocks, so it looks like they are going to have to take the long way, and the bunker is going to finish a little bit earlier than that Reaper can actually get over here. So IdrA is going to try to take down this bunker. He's going to be looking for the Reaper, and again, a little bit mistimed here by ThisIsJimmy. Reaper is going to be quite a bit late trying to get into this bunker, but if he can get into the bunker, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage to these drones and these Zerglings. Now it looks like Jimmy is going to try to maybe salvage this bunker, but IdrA doing a nice job there, and I like that he reacted quickly to that, and that's something definitely in the ZVT matchup compared to when you do play Terran or Protoss. The Terran and Protoss really just need to try to mess with the Zerg in the early going, and we see a lot of Terrans will get out the that bunker rush and then try to do a fast expand off of it, and it looks like ThisIsJimmy is going to do just that, getting out the 1 Rax and the Reaper. Going to be doing a lot of damage with those Reapers, and this is just 2 Reapers. This one has 2 kills, the other one was able to pick off a few drones and Zerglings, and now he's really able to kind of manipulate the terrain here on scrap station and do a lot of damage while he's trying to set up more of a macro game. And back at home, IdrA's just running off 1 gas right now, and that's another thing that I really want to pay attention to, is both gas timing and the timing of lair tech. See, a lot of Zerg players will go off of just hatch tech for a long time in these games, as you can guard pretty much everything with speedlings, roaches, banelings, and queens for anti-air. So I feel like a lot of Zerg players try to get that lair tech a little bit too early, and it can put them back in the early economic game, or they just don't have enough units. So we see IdrA getting out a lot of Zerglings, and he has a beautiful spread here on these Overlords. So he's going to be able to see anything leaving ThisIsJimmy's base. He's going to know exactly when this command center lands, and this is a pretty standard build, using those Reapers to harass in the early going and then trying to expand. So IdrA is going to be reacting here with a lot of Lings. He's speed finishing right about now, so they are going to be able to get a surround on this Reaper. And now it looks like he's going to try some sort of baneling play. So we saw he got up that baneling nest, he hit it a little bit, wasn't going to be in the main for any sort of scans, and now he's got a lot of zerglings and banelings. And be interested to see, I don't believe he's actually he does have sight of the front door, so he may be trying a baneling bust right into the main here. He knows his opponent probably has a command center hidden back here, so we'll see what he's able to do with these banelings. Interesting, not sending in any zerglings first. And it looks like he's going to take down all those supply depots and the bunker, and now surrounding some units for ThisIsJimmy. And Jimmy kind of caught here producing a lot of add-ons on these barracks. And he's actually a little bit supply blocked here with all those supply depots going down. He's got one tank and now having to pull off a number of SCVs. If we check the income tab, it is now 35 harvesters to 21. And back home, IdrA is now getting lair tech, and he is just droning up. So he's going to take this advantage, micro around with these zerglings, try to be annoying, take out as many SCVs as he can, picking off some best that he can. So he did a decent amount of damage there. And nice timing on the baneling nest. He didn't get it down too early, and he was just able to counter once speed kicked in and get all the banelings rallied to the front of ThisIsJimmy's base, take down the bunker and the supply depots. But now Jimmy, once he gets the supply depots up and running again, and he's doing his best to, he's going to be in a pretty decent situation. He's got his second orbital command, so he can land that when he feels comfortable. He's got a decent amount of production facilities here. So again, IdrA has the overlords surrounding the base of ThisIsJimmy, and they're in a good position. Like I said, they could pull back if any Marines attempt to shoot them, and he's got the one in the back of the expansion. Decent creep spread at this point, and definitely want to pay attention to when the third queen comes for IdrA. He's got 2 queens right now, and the third queen really just used to spread creep, sometimes to play as an anti-air if you're not going for any sort of hydras or mutas. And this lair was a little bit late. It was around the 9-minute 8:50 mark or 8:30 mark. So an extra queen can definitely help if your opponent is going for any sort of banshee play in the early going. You don't necessarily need the evolution chamber and spore crawlers. If you just get out an extra queen, fight with those queens together, and now we see some great saturation from IdrA on those minerals. If we check the income tab, it is 55 to 26. So we've sort of been able to reverse the economic game in the early going. ThisIsJimmy tried his best to get down the expansion. He was not able to land it though, because he just could not protect his front door from the zerglings and banelings. Now IdrA preparing a number of banelings, and I'm interested to know why he prepared those banelings, what he might have seen. ThisIsJimmy doing a decent job of hiding his army at this point. All these Marines are away from these overlords. They have the protection of these tanks, and you'll see a lot of pro players, they don't want you to, or they will not recommend creating banelings before you see the Terran army move out. So IdrA may be trying to do some sort of push here, or he may feel like this is a timing when ThisIsJimmy is going to be pushing out. Perhaps he knows that this is the timing when Stim might finish, and Stim has finished for ThisIsJimmy. But it looks like he's just doing his best at this point to get out a decent economy. He's actually getting out 2 SCVs here, and IdrA now going towards Mutalisks. Around the 12-minute mark, he's got 9 Mutalisks on the way, and he's also producing just now an evolution chamber and a macro hatch. So that's another kind of interesting timing that IdrA and I share, probably by accident. Is getting up a macro hatch once you do get up a third base. That's about the point in my games where I feel like my income or the number of minerals I have is getting really high, so whenever I add that third base, I do add a macro hatch as well back in my main usually. So he will soon be on 4 bases, and it looks like he's getting, actually he just canceled the ground carapace level 1 in favor of the melee attack level 1. So he may have seen the number of siege tanks for ThisIsJimmy, not all that much. You do want the ground carapace so that the siege tanks are not going to be one-shotting those zerglings. The siege tanks do 35 damage in siege mode. The zerglings have 35 health. So if you do get the armor, it's going to allow them to take 2 shots from those siege tanks. But I imagine that the scouting information, something told IdrA to cancel that. And it looks like, again, with the spread of overlords here, he's going to be able to see any sort of drop play coming from ThisIsJimmy. And IdrA with decent positioning on these banelings is going to be able to roll them in any sort of Terran units which come towards this tower. and he has both of the, or at least the one tower here, doing his best. He hasn't done too much damage with these Mutalisks. See, a lot of players, the second they get out those Mutalisks, the 4 or 5 Mutalisks, they'll move into position. It takes just 5 Mutalisks to start taking down SCVs. So one of the things that I'm really struggling with is I don't move out with my Mutalisks right away. I try to get a decent number, just like IdrA has here, around the 10 or 12 mark, and then push out. And by that time, a lot of Terran players will have those Thors, they'll have the missile turrets because they've scanned me or scouted those mutas, so I'm just not able to do a lot of damage. It looks like IdrA is just going to keep these mutas patrolling around for now, looking for any sort of weak spots. He's not going to engage those the missile turrets until he has a number of mutas, and now he's going to be able to come into the main here, perhaps taking down a number of supply depots. And he knows with the good position here on those overlords that his opponent is now moving out, so he's going to be able to do a lot of harassment with those Mutalisks. And if we check the production, he's got more Mutalisks and Zerglings on the way, so might have been saving some larvae, and now he's got a lot of Zerglings and Banelings. Now he's going to be pushing in here, attacking with everything at once, leading with those Zerglings, and making sure those Mutalisks hit the siege tanks at the exact right time. But it looks like he lost all of his Zerglings and his Banelings, didn't lose too many Mutalisks there to those Stim Marines, forcing them to stim and then pulling back. And something I really struggle with the Mutaling build is at this point in the game, the Terran player pushes out those tanks, the Thors, and the Marines, and they're just going to destroy everything I have. Those Marines with the Stim just chew through Mutalisks, and it looks like I missed some Banelings there. Going to back up just a second. I want to see what kind of positioning he had with these Banelings. Looks like he's preparing those just to the side of this expansion. And we'll wonder if he's going to be canceling this hatch. A lot of players will allow this hatch to tank some damage and cancel it at the last moment. You see ThisIsJimmy canceling or trying to focus on that hatch, doing his best to micro those Marines, but not a very good job, losing all those Marines to Banelings. Not something you'd see in the GSL. Marine King Prime does a much better job splitting those the Marines, as we see IdrA coming in with more and more Banelings. So I wonder if ThisIsJimmy gonna try to add a tech lab to one of the factors here. You see him doing just that. I do not know if he has an armory yet, but he should be adding and trying to get a Thor out as a response to those mutas. So IdrA at this point in a firm position, 66 harvesters to 47. He's got decent saturation on this third. He's got his fourth not quite up and running yet. May do a transfer from the main, and we see the injects just right on time. You saw the larva there pop right off the lair and immediately inject coming from this queen in the main. He's got a little bit of energy stored up on both the queens there. But now pushing in, if we check the army tab, it is 3,400, now 3,700 to 2,100. And he just has the one attack for these Zerglings, so not opting for that defense, just starting it now. Getting up a second level of attack as well as the second level of air attack upgrades. And now he knows his opponent is contained to 2 bases. He's got decent scouting. He's going to make sure he has the Overlord in position and at both of the bases, and his Terran is not running off a secret third. Now going to be pushing in here, taking advantage of this map, the destructible rocks. So the Terran player is not going to be able to do too much defense here. So he's going to be pushing in, trying to take down as many SCVs as he can, and pulling back with the Zerglings and Banelings. So playing very defensive, very macro-oriented at this point, really forcing ThisIsJimmy to push out, and wonder what he's going to be doing with these Mutalisks once ThisIsJimmy does push out, catching him before he's able to siege, and trying to get the good surround with those Zerglings. So a lot of those Banelings being wasted on those siege tanks, but the Marines in the back just taken down by all of those Zerglings and the Mutalisks. Just superior numbers of units for IdrA at this point. So pushing out, and now going to be assaulting the front door. If we check the production tab, we have 28 Zerglings, 7 more Mutalisks on the way, but I have a feeling these mutas themselves are going to be able to finish up ThisIsJimmy. And now we see the GG. So again, sort of struggling with this ZVT matchup in my play, and I'm trying to play ladder as much as I can, a lot of practice games as well against friends and people on the Reddit channel, trying to get better, and my macro is pretty decent at Zerg, but again, just losing a lot of units in those encounters. So I wanted to take a look at IdrA here, how he uses those units. Again, the timing of that defense there at the tower, where he had the mutas, the zerglings, and the banelings all come in at the same time, leading with those zerglings, making sure that he took the siege tank fire with the zerglings, and then the banelings able to get to those marines and do quite a bit of damage. He actually lost a lot of his forces, and ThisIsJimmy pushed in to IdrA's would-be fourth there, but he tanked the damage with that hatchery. He was very patient. He didn't rally in lings to die one at a time against those marines. Instead, he just sort of hung back, warped in or morphed in a lot of banelings, and you saw it was about 10 to 12 banelings, maybe even more there. So not making the mistake of just using 4 or 5 banelings that could be focused down easily. And then ThisIsJimmy, kind of poor micro there, which can be expected when you have somebody of IdrA's talent level playing on the North American server. So just wanted to kind of check out IdrA's game here, learn the matchup a little bit more. Interesting timing on those evolution chambers, didn't get him up too early. Actually went for that attack upgrade first, which was interesting to me. It looks like ThisIsJimmy had the 1-1 upgrades for those marines, so not quite sure why he went for the attack upgrade. Perhaps having to do something with the baneling damage or the zergling damage against marines, wanting to make sure that they went down quickly. I'll have to do some research about that, as he did cancel the all-important ground armor, which would have made those zerglings take 2 shots against the tanks. So I'll look into that, but he was getting up his macro hatch around the same time that I did. Definitely good scouting, good overlord placement, something that all Zerg players should strive for. Didn't have as much Zergling poking in or scouting as I'd like to see, but I guess he sort of knows all the timings and knows the builds so well that he can see, the timing of a refinery or how many barracks are up, and he just knows what his opponent has. So hopefully I will be able to do more analysis like this, kind of like a day 9 breakdown, though I don't have quite the level of knowledge that he does, but not quite the shoutcast, but more of an analysis of the games. And again, looking for more good ZVT replays if you have any of them. Be looking for players like Machine, Rhett, IdrA, people who are just really solid on fundamentals and timings, so that I can kind of incorporate those into my own games. Again, the Katzes of the world, kind of crazy proxy hatches. Love to see what he has to do, but don't really want to add the proxy hatch to my my standard Zerg game. So thanks for watching this one. Take care, guys. See you next time.